Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Friday, and you know what that means? It's time for functional home fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house, and I am tired. It's been a week for those of us in the United States. It's been a week. Wow. Just uh, yeah, it's been a week, and anyone who was in class with me on Wednesday heard me ranting long and loud about Wednesday's fuckery, and I stand by that. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to know that there are people in the world who honestly just don't give a shit about others, don't give a shit about their safety, the sanctity of their bodily autonomy. Just, they don't fucking care. I'm tired of their bullshit. Yes, it's only been a week. It's only been a week. This is our first week of 2021. And, the weird thing is that I'm feeling, really solid and grounded right now. The beginning of 2021 has been really solid for me in that way. But it's also just been just a lot of things that, not only were unexpected, but were just, I wasn't even necessarily capable of imagining them happening. But I was. It's weird. It's a weird frickin' week. Yeah, it's been. Yeah. So, I'm tired, and, that's fair, and it's a good thing for me to recognize. And it's also important for me to recognize, as a white person, that I don't get to let tiredness be an excuse to stop doing the work that needs to be doing. Blah, 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 blah. I don't, and it's an excuse that too many white people use, and too many white liberals in particular, I think have a tendency to feel guilt or feel bad about things that are happening, and then use that as an excuse to be like, well, good, so I'm still a good person, so now I can go over here and remove myself from the situation. And that's, we can't do that, friends. And I, every time that I have that instinct, and I do, because I'm human and because I've lived in this world for 36 and a half years, frankly not doing nearly enough. Whenever I have that instinct, I have to remind myself that it's okay to be tired. It's okay to take care of ourselves. It is not okay to use it as an excuse to not change, to not look at what's happening, to not address what's happening and do what you can to change it. And I think this year is going to have a lot of those reminders, because this is the year where we need to step up, quite frankly, because we've fucking failed the American people. We've failed people of color, black people. We've failed LGBTQA people, indigenous peoples, disabled peoples. We've failed them over and over again for centuries. And at least in my little corner of the world, we don't get to do that anymore. So, yes, acknowledging my tiredness, and reminding myself that I still need to be doing the things that need to be done. So, there we go. Those are my thoughts for a weird Friday. Oh my god, I just watched the I watched Stephen Colbert's opening for the Late Show or Late Late Show, whatever he does, on Wednesday, and it was honestly shocking how angry he was. And like, you know, he's clearly always been a liberal person, but he spent many years sort of playing a character, and he's spent the last however many years since he took over that show, like, playing a genial host, you know, which is a role that doesn't necessarily allow you to openly say all the things you want to say. And Wednesday, he did not hold back. And as someone who's been watching him, you know, since he was Stephen Colbert on The Daily Show, it was disconcerting to see, and also pretty fucking exciting, you know, because that's what we all need to be. We need to be mad as hell, and we need to refuse to take it anymore. Okay? Hello, my dear. Good to see you. I hope your head is feeling better. Yeah, I saw that one. It's only a coup d'etat if it comes from the Dental region of France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling authoritarianism. There are a lot of versions of it I've seen. And we do need to laugh. It is important to laugh. One of the best things that I came across that literally almost made me spit take on my keyboard, and I think it was Wednesday night, so like it was when I was still all up in my anger about what was happening, and then I read a tweet that said, starting to think that it would be pretty easy to steal the Declaration of Independence. Which, if you're not aware, is a reference to the Nicolas Cage What's the Opposite of Classic National Treasure. But on the more serious side of that joke, I know so many people from DC or in DC, and I've seen folks from DC starting to talk about how their entire conception of where they live and their world has changed because there's this impression of DC as like a fortress area, you know, super well guarded and well monitored and all of this stuff. And Wednesday destroyed those illusions. It's security theater in the same way that taking your shoes off at the airport is security theater, you know? And so there's a lot of my friends in the DC area who are sort of coming to terms with this realization that, like, you know, there's this impression of sanctity and of, you know, safety for which people may or may not willingly have given up on certain aspects of their freedoms in exchange for, and it's a lie. It's a lie, because apparently you can just stroll down, fucking Pennsylvania Avenue or something, from a rally, and scale the walls of the Capitol buildings. Shit. It's really mind-blowing. It's been a week. It's been a week. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, because I try to be honest with you about where I am and what I am feeling every time we get on class. I'm not feeling all that energetic about class today. You know? And that's okay. I say it's okay for you. I gotta be willing to extend the same grace for myself. I definitely sort of was walking around for the last 30 minutes just going, oh my God, I feel so tired. And so, you know, I may end up taking it kind of easy today. And that's okay. And if you need to take it easy today, or if you just need to hang out in chat, that's okay too. Okay? We're gathering here. We're gathering together, and that is super important. And I think it's the most important thing we can do right now. You know, what a weird time that all of this really intense shit is happening, and we can't just like go over to our friends' homes and talk and watch broadcasts the way that we normally would. So, you know, we're gathered here, and that's a good thing. And if you are not feeling super energetic today, that's okay too. All right, we will have class, and it will be good either way. And if you ever want to go back and retake it, obviously the VODs will go up on Sunday, so you'll always have access to the class. All right, my loves. Speaking of class, let's do our pre-class checklist. So we got our water. I definitely did not drink enough water today, so excuse me for 1 second. Oh. Yeah, you can tell I didn't drink enough water because I just housed a solid third of this mason jar. Yeah, that's generally a good sign. If you're like, oh, I'll have some water, and then you down half the glass or the entire glass in one go. Probably haven't been drinking enough water today. We got our comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. We got our mats or mat-sized spaces on the floor. If you use a fitness wearable, let's use a strength training setting for today's class. And we've got our pile of stuff. I've got my laundry detergent bottle. I've got big old textbook. And you thought that you were just carting those textbooks from college around for no reason. And I've got a bag filled with books. Really quick, because I'm clearly sort of taking my sweet damn time right now. If you are new to class, hi, welcome. This is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training, but we do it using just stuff that most of us can find lying around our houses. I have 2 advisories for class if you are new here. One is specific to this class, and one is more generalized towards free weight training, and in particular, free weight training arm exercises. The first advisory, specific to this class, we are obviously not using gym equipment. So we're not using nicely ergonomically shaped weights with their weight written plainly on the side in pounds or kilograms, which means that we can't load ourselves as deliberately as we would in a gym setting. So if this is your first time taking class, I want you to err on the side of caution when you load yourself up for the different exercises, okay? Don't go for the heaviest thing that you own right off the bat. Go lighter, even if it feels too light when you begin, okay? That's not a signal to immediately switch to something heavier. That's a signal to go through the first set, see how it feels by the time you get to the end of the set. Maybe you get to the end of the set and you're like, yeah, that's too light, so you add more on the next time. Or maybe you get to the end of the set and go, oh, wow, yeah, that really added up over time. I'm feeling that. In which case, cool. Okay, but just err on the side of caution as you figure out how much things weigh, and you can sort of make more intelligent decisions about what items you use going forward. The other thing is, again, more generalized to free weight arm training. We are not symmetrical creatures. We have stronger sides and weaker sides, and we have a tendency to think that we can just sort of force our weaker sides to catch up to our stronger sides, which is obviously not how we go about this thing called strengthening ourselves safely. So, always, always, always load yourself based on the capacity of your weaker side, not the capacity of your stronger side, okay? Worst thing that happens when you load based on what your weaker side can manage is that your stronger side goes, oh, well, this feels a little easier than I normally would like. That's fine. It's still getting a workout in, and your weaker side is getting a workout in that it can manage. What happens when we try to level up, I guess, the amount of weight that we're using and go, oh, well, you know, I wanted to catch up to my stronger side, but we're giving it more weight than it can handle safely, which means that it's going to probably make unhealthy adjustments to try and just maneuver the weight through the air. It means that you're setting yourself up for injury, and it's just, you're gonna have a bad time. So always, always, always load yourself based on what your weaker side can do, not what your stronger side can do. Okay? All right. Okay, my friends, it's time, I think. I don't think I know. I'm the teacher. I get to know these things. Well, look, let's just take 2 deep breaths, okay? And just try and remind ourselves that we may be tired, but we're here to work out, okay? So 2 deep breaths. All right. All right, we've taken some breaths. We've done our checklist. I've done the various advisories. I've opened Ultra Timer. Oh gosh. So now we start out with our warm-up. So on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. And as soon as you hear that horn, we begin with our hip rocks and bridges. Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, I am definitely feeling a weariness bordering on fatigue. And, you know, I pushed myself really hard in our Tuesday and Wednesday classes this week. So it is also entirely possible that some of this is just due to the fact that I really challenged myself in those classes. And my body's now going, all right, cool. Well, that was really awesome. But we're still recovering from that a little bit, which is fine. But again, I know I've talked about this recently, but given everything going on, I feel like it does bear repeating. You know, I do not subscribe to the leave your feelings and leave all the other stuff going on in your life at the door. You know, there's only room for class here. I don't subscribe to that, first because we are not, you know, bodies with heads, you know, vaguely attached. We are a cohesive unit, body and brain, and our mental state and our mental health have an impact on our physical health and vice versa, and also have an impact on our workouts. And I think it's disingenuous at best for us to be like, oh yeah, that thing that you've been worrying about or stressing about or freaking out about all day, just forget that it exists for an hour. That's not how most human brains work. So, you know, I always want you to be coming into class and to be honestly assessing where you are and how you're feeling, and then using that information to determine what you want to get out of class, okay? And what you want to get out of class doesn't have to be a static thing, and in fact shouldn't be a static thing, okay? It can change from week to week. It can change from day to day, you know? Because even if we come into class with a, you know, in a similar mental state day after day, what we want or need to get out of class may still be very different. So if I'm having a tough week where, say, a bunch of white supremacist fucks try to do a coup in the capital of my country, I might come into class one day angry and upset and tired about that, and just really needing to get that energy out by just really pushing myself and challenging myself in that class, going really intensely. 2 days later, I may be worried about the same thing and angry about the same thing, but now I might be like, oh, God, you know, I want to do class because it is important and it's part of my routine, but I need my success criteria to just literally be, did they keep moving the whole time? And that's fine, okay? We do not have to have the same success criteria every time we're in class. In fact, it's completely unrealistic to assume that we will. So, and the fact of the matter is too, sometimes what you need or want to get out of class will change midway through class, or will change after the warm-up, you know? One of the things that's cool about the warm-up sequence, and one of the reasons why I always tell you to ramp up slowly and deliberately over the course of that warm-up sequence, is because this sequence is what's telling our bodies to turn on all those energy production systems, which then are going to start breaking down the banked fuel sources so that they are available as energy. And so frequently what we will find happens, if we came into class and are feeling a little bit worn out, a little bit tired, and then we do the warm-up and we're like, oh, well, there's all this extra energy floating around in my body now because I just did the warm-up, and my body went, oh, well, I need to prep for exercise, so I need to get those energy sources ready. And so sometimes we get through the warm-up and go, you know what? I have more energy than I was expecting to have. I'm feeling more power than I was expecting to have, and I can take that and use that for the rest of class. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes we get through the warm-up and we're like, yep, still feeling frustrated, still feeling angry, sad, tired, what have you, still feeling like I just really need to focus just on getting through class and moving when I'm supposed to be moving. And that's just what I need to focus in on. And either one of those is fine, you know? We know this, if you've taken class with me for long enough, you know this. And you can be like, oh my gosh, it's a broken record. But our bare minimum for class is still going to give you more than enough workout. If all you can focus on for today is starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly, you are still going to get a workout, and a good one too, okay? And it's important that we learn to listen to the signals that our bodies and our brains are sending us, and that we then in turn teach them that we will respect those signals and we will actually take action based on those signals, and we won't just try to muscle through because we think we're supposed to, okay? So don't be there trying to muscle through when everything in your body is telling you that you need to take it a little easier than usual today. this class is never going to be full easy, okay? This class has a baseline that's going to be a challenge, no matter what. So you don't need to be there worrying that, oh, well, I'm not gonna get that challenge out of class. You know, you are. You absolutely are. And when we train our bodies and our brains, that we will listen to those signals and we will respect them and act on them instead of just trying to ignore them, then we teach our bodies and our brains to, as weird as it sounds to describe it this way, we teach them to feel safer letting us know things like that, you know? Because if you've trained your body that whenever it's over here crying out desperately that you need to stop something you're doing, or you might injure yourself, and you continue to ignore it, your body's gonna be like, well, there's no fucking point in sending those signals. I might as well just jump straight to the injury because they're not listening to me. So listening skills are important and need to be directed inwards towards ourselves as well as outwards towards the people that we interact with, okay? All this to say that I am trying to listen to the signals my body is sending me today, which are very much telling me that I'm feeling a little worn down, I'm feeling a little worn out, and while I am very glad to be here and be moving, because this is still going to be a really good little workout for me, I am also probably going to take it a little bit lighter tonight than I normally would. And that's fine, okay? And I know how weird it probably sounds to hear me say this because I feel like it goes against everything I've ever heard from a fitness instructor ever. And y'all know it's one of the things that really, really frustrates me about the industry is that we do not teach ourselves and our students well to pay attention to what we need. So if I can model that behavior and do it, you know, openly and honestly, and not just, you know, sort of sit back a little while teaching and hope that nobody notices, but be honest with you and say, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it, then my hope is that it will make it easier for you to feel comfortable doing the same for yourselves and recognizing the importance of rest, the importance of paying attention to where we are and to what is going to be most valuable to us in a workout, and not shaming ourselves for not hitting, you know, some predetermined marker for success, allowing ourselves to update our markers for success depending on where we are, depending on what we're feeling, depending on what's happening in the world, you know? So yeah, hopefully it helps for me to talk openly and honestly about this. Hopefully it helps you feel a little bit safer to take advantage of these things yourself, you know? I am not a monolith. I am not a permanently peppy and excited and raring to go cheerleader. I am a human, just like you are. And just like you are, I would like to be as fit and active as I can be for as much of my life as possible. And part of achieving that is recognizing when I need to take a break, when I need to take a rest. So, yeah. We've had a lot of enforced rest in the last year. You know, quarantine restrictions has meant that we weren't able to do the outdoor or outside of the home activities that we are used to doing. And for many of us, we are not used to resting. We are not used to being really deliberate and thoughtful with our rest. Gosh darn it. Ugh. Somehow, every single class, I managed to find that little whatever is stuck in my mat that is poking out of it. Somehow, every time that we do kick-throughs, I find that thing. And it's really annoying. Yeah, it's really annoying because it's clearly buried far enough into the mat that, you know, I can't see it. The only time I notice it is when I put my hand right on, apparently, the exact perfect spot to notice it. So frustrating. So frustrating. But it's okay. Because you know what? We're here. We're gathered together. We are doing a class, trying to ground ourselves, to be kind and caring to ourselves, and to then be, you know, taking that energy out into the world for whatever the second week of 2021 has in store for us. And I won't even hazard a guess on that point because who knows? All right, let's grab some water, friends. Woo. A challenge question. I'm going to be interested to see if what I think is about to happen happens. We'll find out. Meanwhile, though, so we have got our usual weight training sequence for today. So 2-minute timers, just one right after the other. We will have 4 exercises. We're going through them 4 times each. And you will do your reps as soon as the timer starts. And when you get to the end, you'll use the remainder of the 2 minutes for rest, a little bit of stretching, drinking water, what have you. And then you'll hear knock, 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 and you'll know to get ready for the next timer. And you'll go forward from there. So yes, that's what we are going to do. 20 singers. Probably, but that is not even slightly what class is about, so no, not right now. All right, so our exercises. We are going to start with one that I don't think I've actually done on stream yet. which is the lunge with pass-through. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use my textbook for this one. So if I was giving this to a client in the gym, I would go for a dumbbell for this one. You want something that has enough length that you can hand it off, pass it off from one hand to the other. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So we're gonna start in a standing position, and we're gonna take a quick lunge forward, and then we are going to pass that weight under our legs, stand back up, other side, pass that weight, and stand up. So you see why I'm using a larger book for this. The textbook still has that weight that I want, but it has a long enough spine that that I can pass it from one leg to the other without worrying that I'm going to drop it. Whereas, like, if I was using my book bag, you know, it's got a handle, but it's a really small handle, and I'd have to maneuver myself a little more awkwardly. All right, so that's exercise 1. Exercise 2 is going to be side 1 of just a straight up curl. So anything that has a nice handle at the top that you can grip, okay? Obviously, again, if I was doing this in a gym, I'd be using dumbbells. And we're just going to curl up and down. So it's a classic exercise. If you're using a bag like this, you need to be a little more aware because the weight of it has a little more movement to it than a dumbbell would. So you'll need to be aware, a little bit more deliberate as you're lifting that weight. So just something to keep in mind. Again, we're working with equipment that was not specifically designed for weight training, so we have to make sure that we are modifying as needed. Third exercise, and you can use anything that you can sort of hold out in front of you. Generally, I default to this backpack because I can change the weight just by filling it with different numbers of books, and I can get a grip on it, a nice firm grip on it, okay? And so for this one, we're just gonna hold that weight in front of our chest, and we're gonna do alternating front back lunges. So front, and then straight back, and then back to the center, and front, and back to the center, okay? Making sure that whichever knee is the front knee is not pushing forward past the toes, okay? And we're not coming all the way down to that back knee. I'm not, you know, proposing or singing an aria, okay? And then the fourth one is just my other side of curls. So you do need to remember which side you started on, okay? So those are our 4 exercises. We've got the, have we done it before? For some reason, I thought I hadn't given that one in class before, but hey, who knows? Generally, the streamer is not the person who's the best at remembering what's happened on stream. Okay, so yeah, so those are our 4 exercises. We've got the lunge with the pass-through, then we've got round 1 of bicep curls, then the alternating front back lunges, and then round 2 of the bicep curls. So everybody on your mats, make sure your water is within reach, and get prepped. As soon as you hear that horn, we will begin. All right. And here we go. So your back's going to come a little bit forward in order for you to be able to get the weight through under your leg, okay? That is normal. However, make sure that your core is still engaged so that you're not collapsing over, okay? My core is still engaged. I'm staying as upright as I can. And as soon as I've passed the weight off, I bring my back up to that standing position. Also, I'm realizing that I forgot to tell you what we were doing in terms of number of reps. And that's because we are doing as many reps as possible. So we're not going to failure, because I don't think that's a useful term. We don't ever want to be doing an exercise for so long that we literally cannot maintain the form on the last few repetitions of it, okay? No good. What we can do is do as many reps as we can until we can tell that continuing to go forward will cause us to start losing the form, all right? So again, this is an opportunity to listen to the signals that your body is sending you, all right? Which is a huge thing, and it's an important thing to train yourself in for, just life, but particularly for fitness, all right? So I want you over here as we get started with round 1 of our curls. I want you to be going, all right, I want to be able to keep doing this until I can tell that I won't be able to continue doing it without losing the form. So for curls, what does losing the form mean? Well, if I start like having to twist my arm in weird ways to try and get that weight up to the top position. If I start losing the stability that I'm creating using my glutes and my abdominals and start twisting myself in weird ways to try and get that weight up. Or if I'm just feeling that fatigue in my bicep or in my forearm and going, oh, okay, well, that feels like a good sign, okay? So there are a lot of ways to identify when you're getting close to failure. And I want you to get really good at identifying that. And then even better at stopping before you get to that point where you're like, well, that rep was real bad. I did not hold the form well. So that's our goal for today. That's our goal for today. I didn't want to put specific numbers on this today. Because that's the thing about doing this style of weight training class. We're all in different places, right? In terms of where we are for our strength and stamina and where we are aiming to get to. So this allows you to really pay attention to where you are and where you want to get to, okay? Oof. You may, for these, need to move a mat aside, depending, because what I don't want you to experience is you having to step off of a raised surface each time. So, I'm not using a really, really high off the ground surface, but even, here, I'll show you, even this, inch maybe of extra height means that if I'm trying to do these lunges on this mat, well, in order to get forward far enough that my knee is going to be in a good position, now suddenly my foot's half on, half off the mat, and feels really awkward. So, yeah, definitely make sure that you're on as flat a ground as possible, okay? And just keep that in mind. Oh, it's somewhere, see, I've narrowed it down to a general area. I will get you a tiny pokey thing, or I'll just get myself a new yoga mat at some point, because I've had this for, who knows how long. It could probably do with some, with being replaced at some point. All right. Hey, here we are. So definitely paying attention to controlling the weight, especially if you are using a bag like this that has a tendency to swing. That's why a bag is not necessarily optimal for this, okay? Maybe you have a laundry detergent bottle that will work a little bit better. Or maybe you have a book. You know, you could curl using a book like this, and then you're really controlling the weight. The question there becomes, how good is your grip strength? But just, I want you to be really cognizant of the shifting around of the bag, if that's what you're using. And to make sure that you're then slowing yourself down, being a little more deliberate on your motions, okay? And then just really taking care, okay? We're taking care of ourselves. Hey, love it. Oh my God. Woo! Hey. It's okay to yawn. That's what you're feeling. Remember, you can always do some stretching when you're between sets. So you can do this nice shoulder and tricep stretch right here. We can clasp our hands behind our backs like this, and then bring our torsos forward and let gravity sort of pull down. Lots of options, but now we are coming back around for round 2 of our 4 rounds. So we are back to our lunge with the pass through. This is round 2, yes. I had a moment where I was like, do I actually remember where we are? And I am pleased to announce that I did, in fact, remember where we were. So that's good. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm also feeling a little twinging in my knee today. So I definitely want to take it easy for that reason as well. But hey, I'm still sweating. I'm still working. And that is the most important thing, right? And that's why I tell you that even if all you're focusing on is the bare minimum, you are still going to get a good workout, okay? So don't ever feel bad or try and shame yourself for not going for 120% energy output. Like, you're getting more than enough workout right now, okay? But do make sure you are drinking water, all right? Another really wonderful thing about having these nice long intervals is our ability to make sure that we're really drinking water throughout class. We are continuing to hydrate ourselves. All right, getting ready for round 1 of biceps. Remember, you have to always keep track of which arm has already gone, so that you're not just doing the same arm over and over again, okay? So please make sure that you are paying attention to that every time. Alrighty? Alrighty. Yeah. Nice. This is one of the classics, really. The bicep curl. This is like, you know, how many weightlifting scenes have we had in movies and things like that, where we've seen someone maybe sitting in a chair, not necessarily standing the way that we are, but really digging in and using a big old honking weight to do a bicep curl. I feel like this is one of those exercises that, you know, even if you haven't done it before, right? Because we've seen it done a lot. And that, in turn, tells us something about the power of visualization, where I might not have done this exercise before, but if I've seen enough movies with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I could probably pick it up pretty easily, you know, without having as steep of a learning curve. Okay, so visualization, a huge tool with learning new activities, with learning new exercises. You know, I usually talk about it with shrimps, but honestly, it's valuable with any new activity that you may be working into your schedule, into your life, I suppose. All right. So now we're doing our alternating front and back. Okay. So you have to make sure. That's the weird thing about this. That's another reason why I might not want to do it on my normal mat setup, because I have to have enough room to go to a forward lunge and a backward lunge, which is not usually what I'm trying to do. Usually I'm setting myself up and I'm like, okay, I'm stepping forward into that lunge, so I'm gonna set myself farther back on the mat, you know? But for this one, we have to have room in both directions. So again, we need to be paying attention to that spatial awareness, right? And figuring out what we need to do, how we need to position ourselves in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve. This particular, the alternating front back lunge was given to me by a rugby playing friend of mine. And yeah, they demonstrated it to me and I was like, ooh, that looks like an excellent exercise to work into my repertoire. So yes, thank you. Thank you, Meg, for this exercise. Oh my goodness. All right, we are almost to our second bicep curl segment in this round. Where are we? Yeah, you know, it's a strange thing being a streamer and needing to keep up, you know, a patter, right? Like, we watch streams for entertainment. Like, this is obviously an educational stream, so there's value to it regardless, but like, we watch streams for entertainment and information and, you know, engagement. And so yeah, there's definitely that that push to be constantly talking, which is why, you know, sometimes I feel uncomfortable even taking drinks of water because I'm like, oh God, the dead air. But it's important to hydrate myself as much as it's important for you to hydrate yourselves. But yeah, and usually I feel like I'm really good at it. You know, usually I do not have any issue with just sort of following my trains of thought wherever they happen to go over the course of class. But there are definitely some days when you're like, I don't know that I have anything interesting to say right now. which is always an interesting feeling to have, right? Where you're like, huh, what do I even have to say? Yeah, no. So we don't come here to call the teacher baby or any other weird diminutive nicknames. So we're gonna time you out for now. If you want to participate in class, go for it. But if you're just here to be creepy, then one of my mods will ban you when that timeout elapses. All right, number 3. So we are back to our lunge with the pass through. So what do we do at the beginning of each set? We check in on our form. All right, so we want to make sure that our cores are engaged and helping us to not completely cave forward as we're moving the weight from side to side. You want to check in on the form of the lunge, okay? So you don't want to be pushing that knee super far forward. You want that knee to be behind the toes. That's a big one for lunges specifically, okay? We don't want to end up where we're pushing ourselves super far forward. It just adds a lot of unhealthy pressure onto our knees, okay? So make sure that whenever you're doing lunge, that you're checking in and that you're keeping this knee as straight up and down as possible, okay? And, you know, sometimes you push a little farther forward than you meant to. Again, it's not about having perfect form 100% of the time, because that is an unattainable goal, okay? We're not here to do that, because if that was the only way we were allowed to work out, none of us would ever be working out. Even I don't have 100% perfect form 100% of the time. It's not possible. But the faster we can train ourselves to notice when there's something hinky about our form, that's where the power lies. That's where we start to improve. When we can notice, you know, a second after we get in position and go, oh, I think something's slightly off, and check it and go, yep, that's off. Pull ourselves back into the position we meant to be in, and then continue forward with the exercise, okay? That is the skill that we want. We're not going for perfection, but we are going for noticing as quickly as we can when there is a shift that we should make. So it's kind of like, if you've ever meditated or, you know, done like a guided meditation. Meditation is something I've tried a number of times, and I do not know that it is specifically for me, but I know that it is super valuable for many people. And one of the things that I do value, that I've heard in a lot of guided meditations, is that the point is not to have your brain be 100% empty the whole time, okay? The point is not to have thoughts, not have thoughts. The point is to notice when your brain is starting to sort of wander away from being present and being here, and to try and gently pull it back, okay? And that's the same thing that we want here, okay? We are not here to prevent ourselves from ever making any form mistakes, because if that's your goal, I can tell you right now, you're not going to achieve it. Not a good goal. I'm going to give you that Tony Stark moment. Not a good plan. But what you can do is train yourself to notice more quickly, and to then pull yourself back into that form as best you can. Again, recognizing that it will likely not be perfect, because we are not perfect creatures and we are not perfect at moving. As you can see right now, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the alternating front and back lunges, and that's okay, as long as I notice and do what I can to figure out how to improve. Okay, and maybe that's just letting myself sort of reset and go again. Maybe there's some sort of greater modification that my body wants me to make and is trying to signal for. Maybe I need to figure out a different exercise for myself that will hit those muscle groups, okay? The more you learn about your body, about how it signals, about how it integrates with your brain to move, to initiate motion, to pick things up, to throw them around, the better you will be at any fitness activity you turn your mind to, okay? But the foundation is learning how to listen to your body in the first place, and not looking at it as an adversary, and not looking at your brain as like just totally unengaged in this process, okay? We are a holistic entity. We are not, we are not a floating brain that just happens to be piloting a meat suit. We are one thing, okay? And the sooner that we acknowledge that and allow for that, instead of really approaching fitness as if there's some sort of immutable divide between our bodies and our brains, the better off we will be, and the stronger we will be at what we're trying to achieve, okay? So, yeah, just plenty of things to think about, my friends. Plenty of things to think about, and particularly on these days when you're feeling like you need to scale back your own energy a little bit. Those can be the perfect days for going, all right, let's take some of that reclaimed processing power and turn it towards figuring out exactly what we're doing, figuring out exactly what muscle groups seem to be engaging while we're doing different exercises, figuring out how it feels when we are performing the exercise correctly, and how it feels when we aren't, so that we can try and make those shifts, all right? So if this is a more low-key day for you, then as we head into the last set, which we are about to do very soon, try and focus your attention on that, okay? And see what happens. All right, here we go. Our final time through, so final time for our lunges with the pass-through. Considering the twinging in my knee today, I chose a great day to make a really lunge-heavy set of exercises. And, lunges are really intense. When we're doing front lunges in particular, I feel like they are frequently harder on us than like the Samson stretch, where we step back into that lunge, because when I'm stepping back into a lunge, this front leg gets to maintain its stability. So it's powering as I stand up, but it's not having to move anywhere. Whereas when I'm stepping forward into a lunge and then I have to stand back up, I have to push myself off of that front leg to get back to standing. It's a very different motion, and it puts very different pressures on your knees. So if you are struggling with that, if your knees are feeling a little funky, test out going back and then stepping forward, okay? Rather than stepping forward and then pushing back. So again, figuring out what modifications we can and should make depending on what our body's feeling that day, all right? So, good things to learn, always. Oh my goodness. All right. Our final time through side one of our bicep curls. So, make sure that you've got a nice, stable trunk, okay? The only thing moving is your forearm, basically. So this is a single joint exercise. We should only really have the movement at one joint. That's our elbow. So we've got our core engaged and our glutes engaged to really keep all of the rest of our body nice and stable and not wiggling around, not trying to figure out how to follow that weight or push it up into the high position, okay? And that leaves us free to focus on controlling the weight the whole time, up and down. And that's the biggest component, right? Is making sure that we are in control of the weight the whole time. We're not letting gravity go thunk. Okay, cool, I finished the exercise. No, you want to be just as deliberate about lowering that weight back down as you are about lifting it, okay? So always keep that in mind. There are very few scenarios where we actually want to accept gravity's help. Gravity's there. It's going, hey, I noticed that you're trying to get down into this lower position. I can totally help you with that, you know, like if you want me to. 9 times out of 10, we got to be like, gravity, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I've got this covered. So I need you to walk it back a little bit, okay? So just something to think about. All right, so there's that forward and back and up. And so with this alternating lunge, we get both of the types of lunge. So we get to feel pushing ourselves backwards from that front step, and then we get to feel standing ourselves up from that back step, which is, there aren't a ton of opportunities for us to sort of experience both in one go. And remember too, that when we're pushing back from that front, we are not pushing back to a full standing. I'm not putting that leg down until I bring it back behind me and get into that other lunge, okay? So keep that in mind, where it's not front lunge, stand, back lunge, stand. It's front lunge, back lunge, stand, okay? Less relevant now that you're probably mostly done with that, but still, this will hardly be the only time you get this exercise. So it's going to be useful information someday. Oh, what up? Oh yeah, water is excellent. Oh my goodness, my friends. All right, knock, knock, knock. So let's get ready for our final run of curls. Okay, here we are. So we want that form to be just as good here in our 4th time through as it was at the very beginning the first time that we did this exercise. So I want to still be just as controlled about lifting and lowering. I want to make sure that I'm able to compensate safely for the weight that I'm using if it has a tendency to swing like this bag does. I want to make sure that I've got a nice firm base so nothing else is moving, only my lower arm. Really feeling that in the forearm too. Woo! Which is nice. There are not a ton of things that really focus in on the forearm itself. And as a climber, I always appreciate anything where I can notice, oh yeah, my forearm's definitely feeling a little stronger there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so you have probably finished your last run. We're just gonna let the timer roll out and signal to us that we are done. And then I'll probably stand back up and we'll do just a little bit of standing stretching. Stretching on at the end of this class is always very interesting for me because it's not as cardio intensive, obviously. Oh, it's not your bad at all. Look, I was here and you're supposed to be taking class anyway. Yeah, stretching after this class always feels a little different to me because we're not doing the same intensity of warming up our muscles that we do in a more cardio heavy class. So I don't generally do the more intensive static stretches here because I don't necessarily think that we are warm enough in that way. So we're just gonna, we did a lot of nice arm stuff, so we're gonna let our arms just sort of swing back and forth a little bit. Shake those hands out a little bit. If you're using a step counter on your wrist, enjoy the fact that it probably thinks you're running right now. And then, raise one arm to the side, bring it across your body. This hand going just above the elbow and you're pulling the upper arm into your chest as close as you can, getting that nice stretch in the shoulder and going into the tricep a little bit. Take a few breaths. Nothing fancy here. And then let the arms swing back and forth again. And we'll go for the other side. There we are. Yeah. You may notice that one side feels this more intensely than the other. Again, circling back on around to we are not symmetrical creatures. Totally normal. So enjoy it, whatever you feel. And then let's just do a quick standing quad stretch. So we're taking one foot into the same hand and pulling that heel into your butt as close as you can. That knee trying to point straight down towards the floor, and you're just trying to get a real nice, intense quad stretch. I recommend putting a hand on something for balance, a wall, a counter, what have you. Obviously, you can do this as a balanced position, but even if you can, I still recommend just putting a hand on something because we want the focus to be on the stretch. And as soon as we introduce the added element of balancing on the other leg, it becomes less about the stretch and more about trying to manage that balance. So try and hang on to something so you don't even have to think about that. You can really just focus in on getting that nice deep stretch in the quad, okay? Yeah, there we go. Let's just flip over the tops of our toes a little bit. They can frequently use some nice stretching out like this. You feel the stretch coming up the top of the foot and going up into the shin a little bit. There we are. Shake your feet out a little bit. Ah, there we are. All right. A good Friday class, my friends. A good capper to a really weird week. Yeah, really weird week. And yeah, there is a lot that we have to do, my friends. We cannot look away. We can't stop paying attention. I now know more about the process of electing a president than I ever knew before. There are so many steps that I had no idea even existed. And to some degree, that lack of civics knowledge is absolutely deliberate because it behooves people in power to make sure that the citizenry do not actually have a clear understanding of their rights and of the responsibilities of their governments. And and it's terrifyingly easy to just go through multiple decades without ever knowing that the Electoral College doesn't vote for another month after Election Day, and that the final certification of those results doesn't happen until January, or that, you know, there is actually a rich, proud history of senators and congresspeople threatening to or actually arguing against certifying various states' results. Like, there's so much that I don't know. So I feel like a big theme of 2021 is going to be just U.S. history and civics, you know? And hey, there are worse ways to spend the year, but I think it's really important that we all are making an earnest, concerted effort to educate ourselves on the political process, on these structures, and to identify where there are things that happen that we're like, oh my God, why does that happen? That's ridiculous. So that we know what we need to change, you know? And I think that's going to be one of the most important things that we can do this year. So, yeah, that's one of my goals for 2020. Years ago, we were hoping the theme of this year would be Sea Lab, but here we are. Yeah, a lot of lost dreams by now, but you know what? We just make new dreams, and there's power in that as well. There's also power in taking a shower and relaxing for the rest of the evening, which is definitely on my docket. But we have one more class this week, tomorrow morning, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, power shower. We have weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. It's a fantastic way to start off either your weekend or at least your Saturday. So definitely join if you can. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles are in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you're not able to make the live stream. Starting in about February, when I have a little time to breathe from move stuff, I will begin putting up a lot of additional content up there, educational videos, stretching sequences, warm-up sequences, stuff like that. So definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me in making these streams, I do have a coffee account at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated, and they help me keep doing what I'm doing. And speaking of that, if you want to help keep growing this channel, getting us towards that final metric, that Twitch affiliate metric, then please do subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anybody looking for an awesome bodyweight stream. I stream 4 days a week. We have a lot of fun. Oh, also, I learned something interesting the other day about view counts for Twitch streamers, which is that if you have a tendency to throw someone's stream on, in the background, but not necessarily maybe have it muted for part of the time, if you mute within Twitch, it drops you out of the view count. Whereas if you just mute the entire tab, it will keep you actively in the view count. So just something to think about when I know that I have a lot of beloved streamers who I will, put their streams on, but not necessarily be able to watch actively. And sometimes I will mute them, and I had no idea of this. So something to think about. It definitely helps yo streamer pals out. The almighty view count. Ugh, I just want to make exercise content. But, we have a great corner of the internet here. And I think there are worse things than joining in. Having fun with this. All right. I think it's time to go have some dinner and drink some more water, clearly, because, woo, I really made it through that. Take care of yourselves. Keep breathing. Keep hydrating. Wash your hands and wear a mask. If you do have to leave the house, minimize those trips if you can. If you can't, I am fighting for you. And don't look away from everything that's happening, because we need to make sure that we are participating in building the future that we want to see. We don't get to take a back seat on that. And I hope you join me for that, because I think the work will be very worthwhile. All right, my loves. I will see you back here again tomorrow. Mwah. Have a great night.